There was so much to look forward to this pink ball test match. It was a brand new stadium. It was the first time that these two teams were playing a pink ball test match. How was the SG ball going to behave? Where the dew was going to play a crucial role or not? But now I have no qualms in saying that the build-up to this test match has lasted longer than the test match itself, because in 5 odd sessions we've got a result here. Great result for India, though, keeping in mind their World Test Championship ambition. So that stay alive. But plenty to discuss with our two experts who join us now. You're watching ESPN Cricket for Matchday, which is powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G. Gautam Gambhir and Bell. Ian, firstly, I'd like to apologize because you were only supposed to join us at the end of the day's play. Have we pulled you out of a party? Because I'm sure you weren't expecting this early and finish.
Oh no, it's happy days. It's homeschooling still at the moment in the UK, so that's brilliant. The longer you keep me, the better.
Could you put it into words what you've just witnessed? I'm struggling to.
To be honest, I'm tired just watching it. I feel, and I haven't even played. Just sat on a couch watching it, which it's just been intense, hasn't it? But it's like England. They fought back incredibly well this morning. They showed a lot of, as we said, they're going to have to, after a bad day, certainly day one, they had to dust themselves down and come back, and then they fought back really well. But just don't have the firepower, certainly on a pitch like that with the way it's turning and, playing spin in general, they just didn't have enough. And they'll probably be looking back again at that first innings. And again, if they could have even just somehow got to 180, 190, that's where, again, that first innings, not just getting probably enough. We're not asking for 500. Incredibly tough conditions. You're outstanding with the ball. England just probably looking back. What they will do, they'll look back at those little things that they could have done a bit better. And in general, India were much, much better in this game.
You briefly mentioned the pitch there, and me and Gautam had a longish discussion in the supper show. So I'll first get your point of view on this one. We're getting a few comments there. I was just reading. Graham Fong goes on to say that this, even though he's a spinner and he likes to see pitches that help spinner, this one was helping the spinners a little too much. This is what Swanee had to say. Sanjay Manjrekar says on Twitter that, now we've reached a stage where I'm expecting a wicket to fall even before a ball is bowled. What were your impressions of what we saw on day 2 as far as the pitch is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very tough, isn't it? This one where, again, maybe natural variation was just so big, wasn't it? Axar Patel, who was outstanding, absolutely brilliant, but the fact that, he was skidding them on one ball, trying to bowl exactly the same ball, and it would turn square the next, that makes it particularly hard to play. But it was the same for both teams. I think England will probably look at that and go tactically, selection-wise as well. Did they get it right? I think it took 41 overs to get Joe Root into the attack. And then he ends up getting 5 for 7, 41 overs. And that's, I think, 27 overs of seam bowling where India bowled 11. So tactically, then maybe we'll look back on that and maybe think they didn't get him in the game early enough. Whereas India, again, 11 overs of seam, that's all we've seen. So they didn't give any of those. And I think on a pitch like this where there's not going to be a lot of runs on offer, there were some big differences. So yes, the pitch was tough. It is the same for both teams. But I think we've seen, again, that the spin department, there's quite a big difference in it. The pitch wasn't great. We certainly don't want to see test match cricket only lasting just over 5 sessions, which is not great. But I think India again were head and shoulders the better side, and England will they're just not scoring enough runs, unfortunately. And I know it wasn't a big scoring game, but they needed to score 150, 160 plus in that first innings.
Gautam, we spoke about the pitch, and you brought about how the English batsmen could have played better, and some of those things that they did against the spinner was unpardonable. But I'm now talking to you as a fan because of the comments also that we're getting. Fans would generally be disappointed to see a test match last just 5 sessions. You love to see a even contest between a bat and a ball, and that's something that cricket fans never got in this test.
See, ideally, you would want to have all the players involved in the test match. If you see from the fast bowler's point of view, there was hardly any performances from the fast bowlers, and there was nothing for the fast bowlers, and that is what you want to see in test cricket. You want to see probably new ball doing something. You got to test the opening batsman with the swing and seam, and at the same time it should start turning from day 3, day 4, day 5. That is what idle test cricket is all about. Good for batting on day 2 and day 3, but then that is how it is. I've already said this to you. Yes, we can keep debating about the wicket. We can keep talking about the wicket, but you can't miss a straight ball, as simple as it gets. If you miss a straight ball, you're always in trouble. Yes, it's difficult when Axar Patel is bowling. He himself, I'm sure, doesn't know which is going to spin, which is going to keep straight. But then you got to play for the straight ball. And honestly, if you ask me whether from the Indian batter's point of view or from the English batter's point of view, actually none of the batters got out because of the wicket. Yes, it's just probably if you keep thinking too much about it. If you see Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, all those guys, even those were probably bad shots. As simple as it gets. Shubman Gill pulling from outside the off stump, Virat Kohli trying to cut from the stumps, Ajinkya Rahane, Rohit Sharma, and even the English batters. If you see Johnny Bairstow straight delivery, Zach Crawley straight delivery. If you miss a straight one, you will always be in trouble. It's just the lead up to that straight delivery which is probably very important, and that is why we say that it was a tough wicket, no doubt. It will. I'm not going to shy away from saying that it wasn't a tough wicket. It was a very tough wicket to start off. So it's just the lead up to that. Probably delivery, which actually beats you from the inside edge, is probably the problem. That's why we say the best time to face, or probably the best mindset to face, is probably having a blank mindset. Forget about what has happened in the past delivery, but it's easier said than done when you're playing against Ashwin and Aksar, and one starts spitting in from the good length spot. It starts jumping, bouncing. Suddenly it starts playing in your mind that how am I going to score runs? What am I going to do and stuff? But then English batters needs to look into the mirror and think about the skill sets as well. Probably the skill sets are not there, and there was a lot of panic as well. They made a fabulous comeback in the first session. They were the happier dressing room, I'm sure, but suddenly when you lose 2 wickets in the first over, there's again panic, and you start feeling that what's happening, what's not happening, because Zach Crawley and Johnny Bairstow, nothing happened off the wicket. It was just a straight ball. You miss a straight ball, so things can change very quickly in India, and we know that if you keep getting hit on the front pad, there will always be problem, because both these guys will look to target your pads.
Before I go to Ian, another word from you, Gautam. Most questions that were raised about the pitch, and I asked you a lot of them in our previous show, were down to what we saw in the first two sessions. Now, what we saw in that chase that India came up with, both Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill kind of looked very, very good there. Has it answered some of those questions about the pitch?
I don't think so. See, when you're chasing 48, 49, you've got the freedom to go out there and play freely. And you should not judge only because India managed to win by 10 wickets. The thing is, had England had 150, 175 on the board, thing would have been very different. And when you're chasing 49, you know that you can actually look to take on the spinners, and obviously spinners will look to try and take wickets as try and bowl those wicket-taking deliveries. So there will always be an opportunity. When you've got 175, you can actually play the holding job. You can play the holding role as well, and that is why when England had 112 on the board and India was 99 for 3, they still managed to get India all out for 140 odd. So runs on the board were very crucial. Probably England lost this test match after the first session. Then probably 10 minutes just before the first session, they were 74 for 2. Had they gone on to get to 200 or 220, which anyone would have expected them to, when Zach Crawley was batting on 50 plus and Joe Root was batting on 17 or 18, and suddenly you lose 2 wickets before the first session, and suddenly you're again on the back foot, and from there on only managed to get 112. So England actually lost the test match not only because of the wicket, they lost this test match because they couldn't put runs on the board. Had they got 170, 180 and they had the lead of 70 odd runs, they would have come out and played differently. Probably even if they could have got 100 odd, England would have been in this test match. So yes, when you win the toss, you got to take the most of it, because you know that things can change very quickly, and things do change very quickly in India.
Ian, thoughts on what Gautam pointed out about the skill set? You can blame the pitch all you want, but you need to take a hard look into the mirror and really question the skill sets.
Absolutely. I think you won the toss, which is what England wanted to do. You know, there's been a lot of build-up about this day-night test match. England were looking forward to it. Did they rotate in the second test? Looking forward to this. You just got to play what's in front of you. Win the day. Win the ball. As a batsman, you're always thinking about the ball that you're facing. That is it. And I think there's quite a bit of mental things that have certainly gone into the day for England, and probably the batting in this test match in general, still carrying some baggage from the test match before. But again, I don't think it's easy. I think we've talked about this rotation thing. I don't care who you are. Johnny Bairstow going home for 2 matches, not having a net, being in England, coming out, trying to play on a pitch like this. You know, you need to be in good form. You need to be practicing playing. You know, as a batsman, there's no better place than being out in the middle, scoring runs. That's where confidence comes from. So, you know, we've chopped and changed a lot in this series, and I don't think that's going to help. Certainly being 2-1 down, I don't think that's easy. When you're winning and you win a test match, you've got to keep going. You've got to be ruthless and go again to try and win 2-0. And I think England have been a little bit, and I get it, we're in a strange time in the world with bubbles and rotation, but if they're there, you've got to play best 11. So for me, Jimmy Anderson should have played that second test match. You know, you've got to be out there, try and go 2-0, but we've been a little bit, again, looking too far ahead, planning for this day-night test match, all of a sudden it's a turner. So there's a few things I think that, again, we have to accept that we've probably got wrong, but also some stuff that's tough as well. And I know what it feels like. I've been there. I've been an English batsman in Indian conditions where it's hard and you lose and you're scratching your head to find a way. I think some of the young players will become better players for this experience. But I think it's been pretty tough. Some things that we could have controlled, but also some things that have been out of our control.
Interesting you talk about that rotation policy, because that is something that Gautam touched upon, and I'd like Gautam to talk about it right now, is the overall outlook that England has towards Test cricket. And, it was one of those countries that almost put Test cricket ahead of every other format. Every country would say that, but you rarely saw the results in England. Do you see that changing?
Me?
Yeah.
That surprises me even more. Probably the only Test playing nation which actually prioritized red ball cricket more than white ball cricket, and that was England. And suddenly they come to India, and then obviously they prioritize white ball cricket more than red ball cricket, because if you want to give your players a break, you probably would give them a break in T20 series or even in a one-day competition, because English players anyways play a lot of white ball cricket. Most of these guys who play for England will go on to play the IPL and then all that stuff. And when you're 1-0 up against India in India, what an opportunity actually to pick your best playing 11 and probably seal the series. You won't get this kind of opportunity probably for the rest of your probably life. Some of these players, when you come to India in a 4 test match series, you go on to win the first test match, you put your best team on the park in the second test match, you probably play your best cricket, or even in the third test match. Because I remember when it was 1-1, England would have been a happier side, because had someone told Joe Root that you will be 1-1 after the 2 test matches, he would have been a happier captain as compared to Virat Kohli. But then if you don't put your best playing 11, and Ian very rightly mentioned that when your best player who was the second highest run getter in Sri Lanka, you send him back for the 2 test matches, he comes back, he plays against a quality of Akshar and Ravichandran Ashwin. It's never going to be easy. He should have been playing, he should have played the first 2 test matches. Johnny Bairstow would have been in a much better form and much better mindset. So when you've got this kind of opportunity, and when you let go of this kind of opportunity, then things will happen. Now India is probably in a driver's seat and probably even go on to win 3-1, and England is all at sea, because after the first test match, I think there was more panic in the Indian dressing room as compared to the English dressing room. Now if I see England doesn't know the best playing 11, the batters are shattered with their confidence. There's a lot of scars from the last 2 test matches, and going in the 4th test match will not be easy, because you've lost this test match in literally less than 2 days. So after the first test match, had they played Josh Butler should have played this test series. He could have gone home for white ball T20 and one-day cricket. He could have come back and played the IPL. He would have had enough experience of white ball cricket. Josh Butler, Johnny Bairstow, that was the 2 best batters in their lineup. Things could have been different. I'm not saying the results could have been different, but then India would have been under a lot of pressure had they had seen Johnny Bairstow at 3 and Josh Butler at number 7. And Moeen Ali going back again after playing just 1 test match. I don't know what the reasons are. Had Moeen Ali played this test match, it would have suited a lot. With that kind of a batting bowling lineup, they would have had another quality spinner, plus someone who can bat at number 7, number 8, can actually hit a long ball, can contribute with the bat. So this is not England's best playing 11. So unfortunately, that's the thing where England management and the selectors need to think about what to prioritize and what not to prioritize, because I don't know when they're going to get this opportunity of probably being 1-0 up in India and in that test series.
It was a golden opportunity has got.
Sorry, I completely agree, and I think that for me, again, looking at India are going to come to England in the summer. If they're 2-0 up or 1-0 up, will they rotate? I don't think they will. Like, they're on these tours, certainly for an Englishman coming to India or go to Australia, they are the pinnacle. They make your careers. You look back, if you win in those conditions, they are remembered for a long, long time. And I know for fact when India come over in the summer, if they go 1-up, they will not be rotating their best bowlers or their best players or leaving somebody out. They want to win. I think international cricket, you've got to be so careful between the balance of looking after your players and we're in bubbles, but don't look too far ahead. International cricket changes all the time. Form comes in and out as a player. And when you're playing well, don't lose it. Don't change it. Winning combinations are so important to keep against the best teams in the world. And I think England have been a bit too guilty of looking too far ahead of rotating and having a squad for the Ashes. Then actually, this is bigger than the Ashes. This is probably as big as the Ashes. Why are we rotating in one of the biggest test series you can play in? And for me, that's where I think we'd be a little bit, be honest, and think we've got that a little bit wrong.
And especially, Nick, especially when England was 1-0 up. And from the other point of view, India has been very, very clever. Look at how they've managed Jasprit Bumrah. Jasprit Bumrah probably played his first test match in India in this series. He was always used in overseas conditions. And when India go to England for 5 test matches, I can bet you Jasprit Bumrah probably will play all the 5 test matches. If they will have to rest someone like a Jasprit Bumrah, he will rest for the white ball series. And that is how England should have actually approached this tour. They should have had their best players playing red ball cricket, because they've got enough depth in the white ball format. They've got Jason Roy, they've got Tom Banton, and all those guys who can actually fill those places. But if you ask those guys to actually come and play red ball cricket, nothing against Dal Lawrence, but had Johnny Best to be in there. Nothing against Ben Foakes. It's tough for someone like Ben Foakes coming and playing straight away in front of Ravichandran Ashwin and Akshar Patel. Josh Butler played 2 test matches in Sri Lanka. He batted really well in the first test match, goes back. Ben Foakes comes in. Obviously, it's tough for him. So Josh Butler should have played all the 4 test matches, because you had the experience of subcontinent when you played 2 test matches in Sri Lanka. So again, I think it depends on how England selectors and English management wants to look into these series, because what Ian rightly mentioned, that this is probably bigger than Ashes. England will the kind of side England will actually win the Ashes, and I've got no doubt about it, because the kind of bowling attack they've got. But then in Indian conditions, probably this was the massive golden opportunity which they've actually let go of.
I've got to agree with the two of you saying that India is definitely not going to rotate their fast bowlers when they travel to England. The only way they're going to do that is if some of them get a ball on their fingers and break a finger while they're batting. That's the only way that they'll be rotated, not otherwise. But just that point that Gautam made about prioritizing Test cricket in England, Ian, and I'd like your thoughts on that. We from the outside only read reports. I've read a lot of stories which talk about that there's been a conscious change in the English mindset and this focus on white ball cricket ever since the new coach came about, and you got the dividends to winning the 50-over World Cup. But have you seen it up close? Someone who's involved with Indian cricket, who sees it very closely, that there has been this change?
There's no doubt. I think after the World Cup that we had in Australia, which was for campaign, there was a shift, and that was rightfully so. I think we had, as a country, and I'd been through the system, we prioritised Test match cricket to the max. And actually, a lot of players would be rested from white ball series, so it was never properly taken. It was always seen secondary to Test match cricket. And I think with Owen Morgan taking over as a white ball player, it's very, very much equal. I would say it's equal at home. I wouldn't say there's any more than the other, but there is definitely more rotation in Test match cricket. Would never have happened in the past. Before the World Cup, we would never have rotated people in Test match cricket like we have at the moment. So I wouldn't say there's any more in any format. I would say it's equal, which has benefited England. We've won a World Cup. We actually arguably now have a strong depth in white ball cricket, probably more so in the country, in domestically, a lot of white ball players playing around the world. 2020, we probably could put 2 very, very good white ball teams out. Test cricket, the depth isn't quite as big at the moment. If you're talking about the batting in terms of guys I think there's so much on Joe Root to score hundreds. There's not as much around that group at the moment. So I wouldn't say there's any more in white ball cricket. I'd say it's more level, but in the past, it has definitely been weighted Test cricket favour.
Okay, those are about the troubles that the English team faced in this Test match. Let's talk about the Indian effort. And Gautam, no matter how much the Indian team said that, that 36 all out, they're going to wear it as a badge of honor and come out perform, they did walk the talk, you'd have to say. But those things still linger on in your mind. The last time you played a pink ball Test match, you got out for that lowest total. From there to come up with this effort, this is commendable from the Indian team too.
I don't think so. I think that has happened after that. India went on to win the series in Australia. So probably that scar would have been there had India lost that Test series. A lot of people said there's going to be a whitewash and stuff, and India went on to win that series. So I don't think so. And in international cricket, you got to forget things very quickly. Yes, it's nice to say just before the start of the Test match, and just to create a little bit of a banter or try and put pressure on the opposition that India is going to have scars of 36. But remember what India did after that 36. They went to Melbourne and won that Test match, and very convincingly. So there wouldn't have been any scars. But again, you're playing at home, you're playing on conditions which suits your bowlers, which suits your 2 frontline spinners, and at the same time you're so accustomed to playing on these conditions. So probably if there would have been any scars, it had to be on England, because England actually went on to probably they got 58 or 59 all out against New Zealand. So I don't think so it was ever a problem for India, because yes, had India lost that series in Australia, things could have been different, but not after winning that series.
Just a word, we're going to get into the Indian bowlers because they were the standout performers. Akshar Patel picking up 11 wickets, and you've got Ravichandran Ashwin reaching that landmark of 400 wickets. But before that, one quick question to you, Ian, on the Indian batting performance, and I'd like to talk about Rohit Sharma here. In a match where every run was so hard to come by, he gets you a 60 plus in the first inning, 25 not out. He looked like he was batting on a completely different track.
He did. There's probably two players. There was Zach Crawley and Rohit Sharma that looked a different class. Actually, they actually looked like both in the first innings they were playing on different surfaces. But and he looked disappointed. I think I quite like that in a way as well. He looked disappointed to get out. It wasn't just I've got my 60 on this pitch and that's enough. He did look disappointed, which again shows a great frame of mind for that unit, the batting unit, but also into the next test. He's hungry for runs, and he obviously was very clinical. I thought that's the impressive thing about India. Just knocking off 80, the pitch was still what it was, but that was ruthless. That was clinical. It could have been easy to be 4-5 down, knocking off 48, giving England a little bit of a sniff, but absolutely ruthless. I actually thought as well, with England fighting back so much, there was a little bit more pressure on the Indian spinners today because the expectations will bowl them out, which actually isn't easy either. So they delivered under pressure. Yes, the surface was in favour for them, but to go out and deliver that, when expectation of everyone watching the game would have been we'll bowl them out for nothing, and they went and delivered that, which is brilliant. And they've been a standout really since Akshar Patel's actually come into this series. Things have changed pretty quickly for India. That support he gives to Ashwin has just made this a completely different game.
I have to talk about Akshar Patel. It's not very often, Gautam, that it happens. Another spinner in the Indian lineup that overshadows an R. Ashwin, and Akshar's managed to do that, picking up 11 wickets, and that is to be added to what he did in the previous Test match, picking up 5 wickets.
Absolutely brilliant. See, you can talk about the surface, it's going to suit his kind of bowling and stuff, but then one thing is probably the surface, and the other thing is to go on and deliver it, because there has been so many times when on a flat wicket batters doesn't get runs. So one thing is you should have the art of bowling on a turning track as well, because if everything is spinning, and sometimes you start saying that it's very difficult for you to control that spin, the amount of spin there is on the surface. I've heard fast bowlers saying that it's seeming a lot. So it's actually a batter is getting beaten, but it's difficult to get a batter out. But then having that art of bowling, that undercutter and the arm ball on a rank turner, it's always a great art to have, and that's the reason why he's so successful. And same as with Ravichandran Ashwin as well. You can keep talking that they play on wickets, which is going to help them, but then getting wickets on those kind of surface also is a great art, and which Akshar has probably utilized it to the best of his ability.
Just now turning our attention to the star as well in Ravichandran Ashwin, a massive landmark, second fastest to 400 test wickets, only behind Muthaiya Muralidharan. And Gautam, I know you're a big fan of stats. We've got a few stats for you, but I'm only going to talk about this one stat. You can talk about the number of wickets, 401 is what he's got, but have a look at this, 7 Man of the Series award he's got. So it's not just the number of wickets he picks, but it's also the time that he picks it and the impact that he has on a particular series. No other Indian player, and I'm going to count all the greats that you've had in Kapil Dev's and Sunil Gavaskar, Anil Kumble, everyone included. No one's got as many Man of the Series awards as Ravichandran Ashwin. It just talks to you about the impact that he has in a series.
And plus, he's got 5 Test hundreds as well. So people have forgotten about that. Because he's such a great bowler, people don't even talk about his batting, and it amazes me that he doesn't play white ball cricket. So how much is he going to surprise all of us? And it's actually a shame that he hasn't played white ball cricket since last 2 years. After winning 9 Man of the Series, what you've just told me, people have made comebacks into Test cricket with white after their white ball performances, and which is probably not the right way, because white ball cricket is different to red ball cricket. But a bowler who's done phenomenally well in red ball cricket has not made a comeback since last 2 years in white ball cricket. And when he does perform in IPL as well, when he bowls with the new ball, he bowls with the old ball, he bowls in the death, he bowls at every stage of the game. And forget about his 401 wickets, he'll go on to probably get 500 or 500, 600 wickets. I would have no doubt about it. But then 2 years it's been that he hasn't played a single game for India in white ball cricket, which just amazes me that how there are different parameters for different people. So he should be part of it, and I'm a very, very strong believer if India has to be the favourites for the T20 World Cup, Ravichandran Ashwin should be the second, probably the first name on the sheet alongside Jasprit Bumrah. Imagine Jasprit Bumrah and Ravichandran Ashwin bowling in a T20 format. you can use against, for example, Chris Gale. If you're playing against West Indies, Chris Gale comes on to open the batting. You've got Jasprit Bumrah and Ravichandran Ashwin. These two guys have troubled him the most, so he should be the first name on the team sheet once India selects they're playing their squad for the T20 World Cup.
Ian, if you were playing white ball cricket today, you'd be smiling ear to ear not to see Ravichandran Ashwin's name on the team sheet.
Absolutely. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I know that, again, India are blessed with depth in talent and ability, but yeah, to think of someone of this ability, again, bats, bowls, fields, he's a three-dimensional player. So, incredible to think that he doesn't get a game. He hasn't played for 2 years. And in this kind of form, again, I think you don't look too far ahead. If he's in this kind of form, he's playing well, then you probably want in and around that squad. And with him and Jadeja together and the number of different combinations they can have, and as Gautam said, with the new ball and power play, lots of options. But what I love about him as well, I know you've already touched on him as well, but he came over, I think, was it last year or the year before, and played for Nottinghamshire. Now, he doesn't have to do that. He's playing IPL, he's playing international cricket all the time. But he's obviously done that for a reason, to come over and learn, to grow, bowl in England, learn some things. So I think, again, when you see that away from the limelight, we're seeing this now, but the willingness to go into different conditions again, where he probably doesn't have to in the stage of his career now, but to go and play county cricket again, bowl some overs with a Duke's ball in English conditions to learn. So I wouldn't be surprised again if we see him make a big impact when he come over in the summer in England, because he's gone away and done that work off his own back as well.
Gautam said in the earlier show that he thinks that Ravichandran Ashwin is the best off spinner in the world at the moment. You concur with him, Ian?
100%. 100%. I think obviously Nathan Lyon has been fantastic, but one thing I would say recently, Nathan Lyon's had 2 test matches, one against England, one against India, where he had to pull teams out on the last day. He hasn't managed to do that at the moment. That's quite a big call, but he hasn't done that. The best spinners in the world win those games of cricket, and he hasn't at the moment. Yes, he's consistent. Yes, he's a brilliant bowler, fantastic bowler, but at the moment, Ashwin, when India need him, he delivers. And I think that shows to me he's definitely the best spinner in the world, certainly off spinner in the world right now.
What makes him apart from the other off spinners that play at the moment, Gautam? Do you think it's his knack to innovate? We always keep hearing from him how he keeps innovating, comes up with newer deliveries. You pointed out how he's bowling in an era where the doosra isn't even allowed. You have off spinners not wearing the full sleeve jerseys; they're wearing the half sleeves jerseys. So he's not bowling the doosra. Yet he keeps innovating over time. Is it that is what really sets him apart from the other spinners that you have at the moment?
It's his ability to actually undercut the ball. It's his ability to bowl that traditional off spinner, and its ability to bowl that carom ball. And the reason why probably someone like a Nathan Lyon, he struggles in Indian conditions because he doesn't bowl that undercut delivery. He bowls that traditional off spin. He'll get a lot of bounce. He'll get a lot of purchase of wickets in Australia, where there is space off the wicket and there is bounce. But then when he comes to places like probably India, he will struggle. And at the same time, Ashwin's got a lot of subtle variations as compared to Nathan Lyon. Nathan Lyon is a brilliant bowler. Probably one of the best off spinners I've seen, traditional off spinners who will try and beat you in the air, who will try and get that bounce off the wicket. He'll try and get a lot of wickets a short leg or backward short leg, and he'll try and get you at slip as well. But then Ashwin is a completely different bowler. He'll have different angles. He'll bowl at different angles. He'll bowl at different speeds. He'll undercut. He'll overspin the ball. He'll bowl that top spinner. He'll bowl that carom ball. So he's got more variations, and at the same time, he actually sets the batter very nicely. If you see even today, what he did against Ole Pope, on a rank turner, can actually take the ball away and actually can beat the outside edge and actually can hit the stumps. That's just a proper, unbelievable delivery. That's not a doosra. I've seen Muralidharan getting batsmen out like that, or Saklan Mushtaq or Saeed Ajmal, where they bowl a doosra and you get beaten off the outside edge. But Ravichandran Ashwin just purely doing by undercutting the ball. It's just the brilliance of a man. Probably Nathan Lyon will never be able to do that. Yes, if it happens off the wicket, it does, because that. And if you ask Ravichandran Ashwin whether he actually did that, and I'm sure he will say that yes, he did that. It didn't happen off the surface. He managed to get the ball away just by undercutting it, or probably keeping the shiny side underneath, so that it just goes straight with the arm. So that's just the quality, and it's very difficult for any batter to actually pick that little variation.
I'd have to say that as a cricket fan, whenever I saw Muthiah Muralidharan bowl, I never thought anyone would even come close to the kind of records that he was setting. But tell you what, Ravichandran Ashwin is very, very close, just 5 test matches behind the legendary Muthiah Muralidharan in terms of picking up the 400 test wickets. Okay, plenty more to come with Gautam Gambhir and Ian Bell, and this is a special segment called Ask Matchday. All right, this is where we take your questions, the viewers, and put it to our two experts in Gautam Gambhir and Ian Bell. We've got the first question here from down the track, and it comes through Twitter. And he says, wanted to ask how Gautam Gambhir would approach his batting on this pitch. He was a great player of spin. Would he use his feet, play for the straighter one, Gautam?
Trust my defense first, play for the straighter one second, and second, I would be very, very decisive in either going forward or going back, because it's very important actually to go back. And the moment you start going back, you have to, against any quality spinner, I know it's difficult, but against quality spinner, you've got to be able to judge the length quickly. And the only way you can do it is by not committing yourself on the front foot. The moment you get stuck on the front foot, then there are trouble times. And that is what exactly happened to Chiteshwar Pujara. He got stuck on the front foot, and that straighter ball actually got him LBW. So you got to be light on your feet and probably have a very short first movement. Don't have a big first movement, that initial movement. Just have a floating movement so that you can actually go forward or go back. It's difficult to step out because at the pace what Ashwin and Aksar bowls, it's very difficult. You're just trying to probably block them, because you normally step out to attack, you don't step out to defend. So I would have definitely trusted my defense and forget about what's happening. How many fielders are there around the bat and pad, and if a good ball gets me out, it gets me out. But I would definitely play for the straighter one and try and protect my front pad as much as I can, because I know that if I keep protecting my front pad, there will be opportunities to score runs, especially off the back foot.
Okay, we've got another question. This comes from YouTube by Crick Legends, and his question is, it's an extension of the question that we got a short while ago. He says, what was the reason behind the batsman getting out to the straighter ball? Ian, would you like to answer this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly from an English point of view, I think it's just the fact that they've seen the ball turn so much and they're playing for spin. I think the hardest thing on a pitch like this is you can't defend both edges. So as Gautam, who knows much better than me, he's played on more of these edges than me, play the straight ball. If you get one that turns past the outside edge and you get caught slip or it gets top of off, then you just got to say well done to the bowler. You should not get done by straight deliveries. But it's a lot easier sat on a couch than it is doing it. But the reality is, I think England have just seen the ball turning, and again, it becomes a mental battle. Then, do you trust your defence and make sure you're making bat and playing with straight, and making sure again you're not hit on the pad or you're not bowled, and accepting you're done on the outside edge? I think if you can do that, you'll score runs. But England have struggled to do that. I think the disappointing thing is they've probably done the same again second innings they did first innings, so they haven't really learned from maybe what happened first up.
I've got a hypothesis before I go to the next question, and probably Gautam, you could answer that. That we saw Joe Root get wickets on that, turning ball, and most of the regular spinners getting in the straighter ball. Is it that because a batsman really expects a regular spinner to turn the ball, which is why he gets out when he gets or he gets surprised when there's a straighter one, and it's completely the opposite for a part-time spinner in Joe Root, because you expect him not to turn the ball much, so you're expecting the straighter one, and it's the one that turns that gets you out. Is it, or I'm just too simplifying the entire thing?
See, he's much better than a part-time bowler because he bowls at the right pace. He undercuts the ball. That's the reason why I always felt difficult playing Graham Swan as compared to Murli Dharan, because Graham Swan would undercut the ball and he would get a lot of left-handers LBW. Because when you start undercutting the ball, as a batter, you don't know which one's going to spin and which one's going to keep straight. And Joe Root did that today. If you see probably the dismissal of Rishabh Pant, it didn't spin that much. And if you see the dismissal of Washington Sundar, it spun off the wicket. And I'm sure the deliveries were exactly the same, the release points were exactly the same, everything was exactly the same. It's just that natural variation off the wicket. When we talk about natural variation, what is natural variation? Natural variation is when the wicket starts behaving and the variation happens off the wicket. Once it happens off the wicket, there is very less time for a batter to react. You can actually pick a bowler from the hand and you've got a lot of time actually to adjust. But once it starts happening off the wicket, it is very difficult, because after pitching to the batter, there is very little time where you can adjust. You got to make your decision probably, and that's why I keep saying play for the straighter ball. I'll keep repeating about it for English batters, for Indian batters. Play for the straight ball. Rest, forget about what's going to happen, because rest, nothing is in your control. How the wicket's going to behave, how much is it going to turn, how much is it going to bounce, what is going to do off the wicket, even the bowler doesn't know. So all you can control is probably the line of the ball. Go towards the line of the ball and try and play the line and forget about rest of the things. You get room, try and hit it probably off the back foot, but don't try and manufacture a shot, because once you try to manufacture a shot off the wicket, you're going to be in serious trouble. And that is how Indian bowlers have actually exploited these conditions. And at the same time, one thing I want to actually mention is that both
Yeah.
Ravichandran Ashwin and actually Akshar Patel had stopped the English batters from sweeping. English batters did sweep a lot in the first test match. If you see after the first test match, they could hardly sweep both of them because the pace was very good. And actually the trajectory was also very good. It was much flatter, and they were actually testing the defense, and the release shot was actually blocked. And that's the reason why English batters have struggled, because their go-to shot was probably a reverse sweep or a conventional sweep, and hardly they could play that shot because of the trajectory of the ball.
We'll take another question that's come our way from Twitter. Meanwhile, I'll just answer a quick question that Crick Legends is thrown to us via YouTube. He says, do you see Akshar Patel being dropped when Ravindra Jadeja returns? I'll answer that for you because Gautam answered that earlier saying, I would play both of them. What's the harm in playing both Akshar Patel and Ravindra Jadeja? So you have your answer. Meanwhile, Srisant Shah wants to know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how many marks would you give to the pitch and 2 to the test match? So quickly, these will be one-word answers here. I'll start with you. How many marks from 1 to 10 to the pitch?
I wouldn't give it a good mark. The entertainment was great. I'd probably give it 3 for a pitch, but then the entertainment itself. I mean, again, you can't have a match going 5 sessions. That's the only reason for me. Don't get me wrong. Some of the batting wasn't great, but entertainment-wise, I couldn't stop watching it. I thought it was, it was amazing to watch, but I couldn't give it a great mark.
Okay, so 3 for the pitch and 7 for the test match itself because of the entertainment. Am I correct?
Oh, entertainment. Yeah.
Okay, Gautam, for you, how many to the pitch and how much to the test match out of 10?
See, 4.5 for the pitch. The reason because I want to see all the players contribute on this wicket. Probably there was nothing for the fast bowlers, especially with the pink ball under lights. There was hardly anything for the fast bowlers, and obviously stroke play was very difficult because it wasn't coming onto the bat. So 4.5, and from the entertainment point of view, 6, because I would not want a test match to finish in 5 sessions. I would definitely want a test match to finish probably by the 4th day. And that is what test cricket is all about, so that everyone gets that equal opportunity to try and contribute. And if you see from the fast bowlers or from the batters' point of view, it was probably much more tilted towards the spinners.
Okay, final 2 questions I'm going to take. This one comes again from YouTube. His name is Get Lost. I don't know whether that's his name or whether he's telling us that he's had enough of us on the show, but his question is nonetheless there. He says, why is Virat Kohli not amongst the runs? Gautam, would you like to answer that?
Why is he not among the runs? Probably he can answer that better. Again, I think he's got the starts, but then he hasn't been able to convert that. Probably we are so used to probably seeing him getting those big hundreds. And England has actually bowled well at him, especially Jack Leach and even the off spinners. They bowled well at him. He's got the starts. He's not been able to convert. But again, I'm sure he would be itching to get a big one. And wickets haven't been that easy for a batter, especially after the first test match. Wickets have been tough. It was Rohit Sharma's absolute brilliance that probably he got a 160. Apart from that, everyone struggled. Virat Kohli got those runs in the second innings, but then it's always difficult on these kind of wickets because you're never in.
Okay, we'll take the final question that's come on Twitter. Meanwhile, Harishi Saikia on YouTube as a comment says that these points shouldn't be counted towards the World Test Championship considering the pitch wasn't good. Well, that's being very, very harsh. There are no rules there in the ICC manual that says that the pitch has to be of a certain quality. Only then will it count towards the World Test Championship points. But of course, the ICC, if it does deem it to be unfit for Test cricket, can give some demerit points to the host nation. Okay, final question. This comes through Tarun, and he wants to know, do we have enough time to play another test and make it a 5 test match series? Ian? I would have thought they could have played a couple of T20 games because they are scheduled to be played in this particular ground.
Yeah, well, maybe. There's plenty of that coming up, isn't there, as well? But there, like you said, plenty of time for another test match. We hope that the 4th test match probably will be a better surface. We don't know, again, back to normal test match cricket, whether the ball will have slightly different effect, the pink ball to the red ball. So we'll see how that goes. But we certainly want it to last a little bit longer, don't we? Not squeezing in another test match, which I'm pretty sure would be done in 2 days as well on this pitch.
All right, gentlemen, we'll leave it at that. Gautam Gambhir, Ian Bell, thanks so much for joining us. Now you have enough time to figure out what you're going to do with the 3 days off that you get because the test match finished so early. But the teams will have to go back to the drawing board. Not so much for the Indian team, maybe a change or two when they go for the final test match that will be played in this particular venue. But for the English team, plenty to think about. The only other solace for them is that they'll return to red ball cricket. It's going to be a day match, and then those are the conditions that are a little more familiar with while playing in India. Does that help them draw a series? We'll have to wait and watch. Meanwhile, India's World Test Championship hopes are still alive. You are watching ESPN Cricket for Match Day, which was powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G.